Now, I appreciate, I love nothing more than seeing you on Twitter or on my text in my inbox expressing how much you're looking forward to the top of the show in the hope perhaps that we might make sense of things. Or I suppose if you're coming at it from a different angle, that I might finally burst a blood vessel live on the radio. I mean, it moves me. It moves me deeply, actually. It's incredible to think how far we've come together from the days when I first sat down in front of this microphone and spoke to about 8 people, I think. But I don't share your excitement at the moment. I don't share your sort of anticipatory glee, because I'm haunted by some of the calls we didn't take yesterday. I hope that doesn't sound odd. Yesterday we found some time to turn our attention to the cost of living crisis. We found some time to turn our attention to the question of how we've ended up in a country where 1 in 7 people are now skipping meals because they can't afford to eat. I'm haunted by Rita in Haringey, who's reduced to wearing her dead mother's clothes because the outlay necessary to refresh her wardrobe is simply beyond her. I'm haunted by the mum we spoke to, the mum of 3, who essentially has Weetabix of an evening after feeding her children, goes to college, works part-time, plays by the rules, can't afford to eat. I'm haunted by the calls we didn't take, the people that were queuing up to talk to me about having to skip meals. Children at schools who can't have school dinners because they fall between the qualification and the cost. They don't qualify for the free ones, but their parents can't afford to feed them. The shame those children feel. The tale we heard from a teacher of the boy who took advantage of a failure in the computer system that meant he could actually get lunch that day, even though when the bill finally came, his parents wouldn't be able to pay it. The honour system that temporarily failed and meant that he could actually join the queue for dinner, knowing that the money to pay for it was not actually in his account and perhaps never would be. I'm haunted by those calls, the calls we took and the calls we didn't take. So, listen, it may be on a different day. If I'd got out of bed on a different side, I'd be jumping up and down with excitement about the political skip fire that is raging in front of us. But the Conservative Party are not in opposition. The Conservative Party are not having this ludicrous internecine warfare, this inevitable and complete collapse of confidence in themselves, in Liz Truss, in each other, in everybody, during a period of peace and tranquility. It's not as if they have the luxury of stepping away from the fray in order to indulge in a little domestic dispute. The country is in turmoil. And people are suffering on a scale that is simply unconscionable in an economy that is supposed to be among the biggest in the world. It's unconscionable. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. And here's the thing. These Conservative politicians are not sitting at home or swapping messages on WhatsApp about how the hell they're going to get food into the bellies of hungry children. They're not swapping theories or proposals on how they're going to ensure that Rita in Haringey can afford some knickers and doesn't have to wear her late mother's today. They're swapping messages about their own ambitions. They're gossiping about party politics. Internal party politics. They're swapping stories about Grant Shapps and Suella Bloomin' Braverman. They are not interested in the business of government. Grant Shapps is Foreign Secretary. A man who made his fortune selling get-rich-quick schemes on the internet under several false names and then lied about it for years. That is how low we have come. That is how low we have been brought by this Conservative Party, by the post-Brexit Conservative Party. Jeremy Hunt is Chancellor of the Exchequer. He is supposed to be the solution to the problems Liz Truss has caused. A man who turned the NHS upside down and then did a lap of honour. Grant Shapps, the spiv's spiv, who last week was plotting to oust Liz Truss, yesterday accepted an offer to take up one of the great offices of state, an office that has been so completely debased by the last two occupants that it barely merits the name anymore. Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, Grant Shapps. What an honours board. What a track record. I've even confused myself actually with the with the job titles and the job descriptions. Home Secretary. James Cleverly is Foreign Secretary. I'll say that again because I can't actually believe it. James Cleverly is Foreign Secretary. Grant Shapps is Home Secretary. He succeeds Suella Braverman, who boasted gleefully of dreaming about deporting refugees, who succeeded Priti Patel, who was found by the Prime Minister's own ethics advisor to be a heinous bully, whose compensation for the person she bullied cost the taxpayer tens of thousands of pounds. So I'm not relishing the mess. I could do, because I'm okay. I'm locked into a mortgage for the next 5 years at interest rates that are barely recognisable from what you'd get if you tried to sign up for a mortgage today. My children aren't going to be going hungry anytime soon. If I need some new clothes, I can afford to pop out after the programme today and buy some. So I could, by rights, just treat British politics like a campfire. I could warm my hands on it like a lot of journalists do. I could sit around it and chew the fat and eat my tea and giggle about what an almighty mess it is. I could allow the Schadenfreude to run riot. I could get the biggest tin in the world and fill it with pound coins every time I say, I told you so. But it's awful what is happening. It's not funny. It's not to be celebrated in the way that some idiots claimed they loved Remainer-tears after they successfully voted to turn this country into the first in history to impose economic sanctions on itself. Taking pleasure in the opinions of one's, in the failures and the travails of one's political enemies is the mark of a sociopath. It's the mark of an idiot. This is one country. We are one people. This is a single population, and millions of us are struggling in ways that should simply not be happening. And what is the party of government doing? Scuffling in the lobby like delinquent school children, squabbling on social media like fishwives, resigning, resigning, talking to the media, saying one thing to the cameras and another to your colleagues. They are not interested in the people of the United Kingdom. They are not interested in the suffering of the population. They do not care about anything except their own pathetic ambitions, their machinations, their Machiavellian manoeuvres. They care not a jot about you, about me, or about anything other than jostling for position, seeking promotion, and hanging on to their seats, their salaries, and their jobs. There are exceptions. I shall play you one or two of them in the course of this morning, but they are so rare now as to be remarkable. So forgive me. Forgive me for not enjoying this, and no criticism at all of the people who are kind enough to express some sense of relish at the 10 o'clock coming around and the monologue beginning. It does get me out of bed every morning, and there is often fire in my belly. And then other days, of course, there's something rather sadder driving my thoughts and driving my words. And today is a very, very, very sad day, because of the people who are suffering and how far they are from the thoughts of the people who are supposed to be governing, how far they are from the thoughts of Liz Truss, who came into office and decided that her top priority was to give a tax cut to people like me. To people like me. And then abandon almost every strand of that ludicrous mini-budget with barely an acknowledgement of who was responsible for it.